Hello there, Brian of London in Beresheet Forest. Same name, yes, Beresheet in the beginning. How are my teeth? Haha, big joke. Sorry for being late. I had a massive bit of dental work and the dental cleaning and all that stuff. Okay, I'm going to talk about censorship and Tommy and Israeli Avi Yemini being stopped at LAX, but I'll do that later. First, I'm going to talk about Beresheet, the little space probe, which unfortunately landed on the moon, because I remember a few weeks ago when we were having some rockets from Hamas, one of the headlines was a rocket had landed in Israel. So our Beresheet landed on the moon in the same way as Hamas rockets land in Israel. Unfortunately, it smashed into the moon at a few hundred meters per second. And I just want to say what an incredible achievement that actually is. Okay, so let's just run through just a little shopping list of what they did. They raised the money. They built something. They built something that was fit to put on top of a spaceship. And yeah, that was funny. Nobody filmed it. They built something that was fit to put on top of a spaceship. It went onto one of SpaceX's rockets, and then it performed some of the most amazing orbital mechanics I've ever seen. I don't know whether the Chinese or the Russians ever used a system that Beresheet used. I haven't really checked or figured it out, but the method that they used to get to the moon, which was this method of making gradually increasing orbits of Earth, where they approach Earth quite closely, but then they keep boosting the orbit so that the maximum altitude from Earth gets up and up and up until eventually the maximum distance that they reach from Earth while still in Earth orbit intersects with the orbit of the moon. And that was about 40 days to do that. So you have to kind of be aiming at where the moon will be in 40 days, and you have to arrive there at the same time as the moon. And then when you are near the moon, but still technically in the gravitational orbit of Earth, you have to fire your engines to slow down to match your velocity such that you capture lunar orbit. Now, all of this is wonderfully easy to talk about. The maths is insanely difficult. Now, back in the Apollo 11 days and the Mercury and the Gemini days, they actually had teams of women in Alabama actually doing these calculations on paper. Today we've obviously got computers, and it's a lot easier from the mechanics of doing it. You run the simulation. There's actually a game called, I think, Kerber or something. It pretends to be a game, but it's actually orbital mechanics, and it's just fabulously accurate. But nevertheless, to pull it off, and that means that this little machine, which is 250,000 miles from Earth, 360,000 kilometers, that has to make its engines fire at exactly the right moment. And you don't have remote control of this in the way that I fly my drone. When I fly my drone is within sight. It's like a millisecond to get the signal to the drone and back. There's no delay. When you're in orbit around the moon, it's a couple of seconds for light or radio waves to get to the moon, and a couple of seconds for them to come back, 5 seconds or so. That's too slow for you to control it, so it has to be autonomous, which means it's AI, this much vaunted AI. So the whole landing program, once they sort of pressed the button to say go down to the surface, this thing was pretty much on its own. Every step that they went through to get Beresheet to this thing. By the way, I'm Brian of London. I'm in Beresheet Forest in Israel, if you don't already know me. And every step that they did was astonishing on the budget that they had. So, as I was watching last night, they mentioned that they'd lost communications. When it came back on, I could see the numbers, the altitude, the vertical velocity, the horizontal velocity, and everything was just, I could see immediately this thing was just heading one way to smash, because the the altitude was dropping fast, the vertical velocity was going up instead of coming down, and the horizontal velocity was also increasing. So it smashed sideways into the surface of the moon. Okay, I'll be very pleased if they do try again. It should be a lot cheaper to do the second one. But in the end, when you put Israel on a map side by side with Russia, the United States of America, and China, you see this sort of this. We're not playing in their league, but apparently we can shoot something that actually lands in a heap on the moon, which is an awesome piece of engineering. Anyway, whilst I was watching that, unfortunately, I was getting a call from someone in the US to tell me that Avi Yemini had been in detention for 5 hours at LAX. And eventually they put him on a plane back to Australia. They did not allow Israeli Avi Yemini, a Yemeni origin Jew, into America because I don't know. We don't know the full story yet. We don't know the reasons he was given. But does it seem possible that Comedy Central are using the Customs and Border agents as to protect their talent, this Jim Jeffries guy, from mean comments or from a hostile interview on the street from Avi Yemini? Really? Are you kidding me? But it could well be. I mean, Avi does not pose a threat to anybody unless he's in the IDF holding a gun and shooting. But going to America with a microphone that says TR News on it, he is not a significant threat of harm to anybody. So for him to be bounced back, they're going to need a big story of this. And I hope we can escalate this to the point where Trump Jr. and Tucker Carlson and these people take notice. It's very dark days. We were laughing about it last night behind the scenes, but I think it's deadly serious. It's deadly serious. What threat does Avi pose to the United States of America or to anyone in it? None. Absolutely none. Now, did they turn him away? Now, this is the conspiracy I think. I think Comedy Central called up Customs and Border and basically made the Nazi accusation against Avi the same one that they made in their fake program, the one that Avi debunks. Now, if they have put forward to Customs and Border that Avi is some kind of right-wing white supremacist Nazi, and those are grounds on which to deny him entry to America, I hope that any submissions that they've made or anybody's made to this case can be got at with a Freedom of Information request in America, and we'll get to the bottom of why Avi was turned away. There is no way. Yeah, I agree. He shouldn't be advertising that he's going. He's sometimes a bit loud and silly, but he should have the right to go to America. This is, he is not. It's very, very peculiar that he was bounced. His companion, who is an American citizen, actually got in. Sydney, I think her name is. Which, they don't quite have the right to deny an American citizen entry. But if it was that somebody told them that he is a white supremacist neo-Nazi, that is very peculiar. And I can believe that without them checking, they could take the word of a big network like Comedy Central and just boot the guy on the basis of what they said. That's the most worrying part. Anyway, Telegram seems to be working well. Somehow Tommy worked out how to put comments on his Telegram post last night. That was not me. I did not work that one out for him. It's a new Tommy. Trust me on this. It's a very new Tommy. Anyway, this seems to be working. We've got a feedback channel. We have to be careful because obviously now we're going to get a whole load of left-wingers piling in and making stupid Nazi stuff and Heil Hitlers and all of that crap. I don't know if we can moderate it, but we're not responsible for the comments that appear, and stuff them actually. And Telegram's policy on content is just fantastic. They're just not throwing anybody off. So I'm very happy that Tommy's managed to build up this 27,000 or whatever. It's just gonna rock up and up and up because Tommy's actually an entertaining and enlightening guy. He tells you things you need to know. He talks the truth. People enjoy it. So what's not to like? I'm going to end here. I'm actually feeling a bit banged up from dental stuff because it wasn't just cleaning. And I'm Brian of London. This is Beresheet Forest. It's the same word, the same name as that spacecraft. Beresheet just means in the beginning. It's the first words of Genesis, the book that Christians and Jews share, the Holy Bible, what you Christians call the Old Testament, and we just call the Bible. So Yeah, I am on Novocaine for the soul, Novocaine for the teeth, Novocaine. And it's time for me to drink my culturally appropriated little black Italian coffee. I think enough time has passed. And see you all the next time. Thanks very much for tuning in. Brian of London, brianoflondon.me. Find me on Telegram now. I like Telegram. Bye.